everybody. Welcome to the Community Matters meeting, Portishead Town Council, Thursday, the 28th of March. I got that right. I'm not reading the last one. For those residents who have braved the weather to come out, thank you very much. It's really not very nice out there. So we will move on. So agenda item 1, Chairman's welcome, fire safety and exiting the building. We are not expecting any fire tests, alarm tests this evening. So if the alarms do go off, head out the building, down the stairs, out into the car park opposite. That's the assembly point. There is a fire exit here as well, which takes you down an outside flight of steps and around the side of the building. But the assembly point is in the car park opposite. Recording of the meeting, all the meetings are recorded anyway, and they're available online after the meeting. You are allowed to record the meeting if you would so like, subject to Standing Order 4.1.3. A person who attends, this is very wordy, so bear with me. A person who attends a meeting is permitted to report on the meeting whilst the meeting is open to the public. To report means to film, photograph, make an audio recording of meeting proceedings, use other means of enabling persons not present to see or hear the meeting as it takes place or later, or to report or to provide oral or written commentary about the meeting so that the report or commentary is available as the meeting takes place or later to persons not present. Further detail is given in the Portishead Town Council Filming and Recording Policy, Policy C8, and Portishead Town Council Behavioural Policy 4.1.3. A person present at the meeting may not provide an oral report or oral commentary about a meeting as it takes place without permission. All recordings must comply with the current GDPR regulations. So if you wish to record, you can. Just so as other residents, members of the public who might be here, if they do not wish to be filmed or recorded, if you could make that clear that you are going to record or film, make myself available, make myself aware, then it's up to the resident then whether or not they wish to stay or leave. Okay. Agenda item 2, apologies for absence. We have 2 apologies. So Councillor Aldridge and Councillor Davey. They're both enjoying, hopefully, nicer weather. No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure Councillor Aldridge is in Wales.
Yes.
Yeah, but under canvas in Wales. That's brave, isn't it?
Very brave this time of year.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Do we need to? Yeah, we do. Okay, so can we have a proposer to accept those 2 absences, please? Emma to propose, and then David seconded. All in favour? Yeah, everybody. Thank you. Declaration of councillors' interests and requests for dispensation. Members to declare any disclosable pecuniary, financial or other interests, items on the agenda as required by the Council's Code of Conduct, Standing Orders and Localism Act 2011. So generally what we do here, we just go around the table of councillors. So Emma?
I'm aware of.
Jenny?
Nothing I'm aware of.
David?
I'm aware of.
Bob?
None I'm aware of.
And none that I'm aware of. Thank you very much. Agenda item 4. We're rattling through it. It doesn't all go like this. Don't get overexcited. So 4.1 Lake Ground Visitor Survey update. So surveying commenced at the start of this month. We've had a number of councillors that have been down there taking surveys, and we've had officers, and we've had some volunteers as well. Over 70 surveys have been conducted by the end of last week, sorry, with 8 surveyors down there. Counts include things like footfall, and generally speaking, the interview is about 1 in 3. I think you were saying about 1 in 3, and that's going to continue as we go through the year. The whole point of the survey is to capture information from those people going to the lake grounds. You know, what are they going there to do? What facilities are they using? And then a few more sort of specific questions around the cafe and refreshments down there as well, and what they feel about it and what they would like to see down there. Bob.
Yeah, can I just obviously can I just let the public know that this is not related to car parking charges, so we are not here to provide North Somerset Council with information that they could use at a later date. This is basically about research into the cafe and sort of the toilets for the lake.
Yeah. Okay.
Could I add, Chair, that the Lions have been asked to volunteer to help with those surveys as well?
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thank you very
you.
much.
Thank you. Yeah, the more volunteers we can get down there helping with the survey means the more data we can capture.
And the less thermal leggings I need.
More leggings you need.
Most important things don't all get burnt out in the first
Yeah.
weeks because it's service day all year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be brilliant.
It's a
That would
marathon,
really
not a
be good.
sprint to get as many in.
Yeah.
We really want to get people's views as they attend the summer, as they attend the meeting, because they're located there.
And there will be
That's great.
yeah, there will be busy times down there. There will be quiet times down there, and so the busy times are where probably the benefit of more volunteers would be really useful. But thank you very much to the Lions Club for that. The 4.2 Lake Grounds change in places update. So the latest on that was that this is a toilet block come changing facility purpose built for accessibility purposes that's going in down at the Lake Grounds. There were a couple of options around where it was going to be located, and I think it eventually got moved to the piece of grass that's between the current cafe and the toilet block. Work was supposed to commence this week, or it's supposed to commence by the end of this month, but I think weather may have impacted on their ability to get that started. But the plan was to get the foundation work commenced by the end of this month. But that may be delayed a little bit, with completion by the end of June. It's a really smart unit that's going down there, and I think it's going to get a lot of use, and it's certainly going to be a worthwhile addition to the facilities down there. Anybody want to add anything to that? No. Okay. 4.3 Shanty Festival. This is a music festival. Many of you will know that around Portishead from time to time we get the shanty singers come along and do various bits and pieces. Portishead Marina, in conjunction with Bristol Channel Yachting Association and also with Horlham Woodhouse Boat Folk, that whole group have decided that they want to put on a shanty festival. Initially, it's only going to be for one day. The bank holiday weekend, the Saturday of the bank holiday weekend in May. It'll be running from about midday through till 10 in the evening. It will be on the boat lift area outside Horlham Woodhouse, so between Horlham Woodhouse and the marina. They've got currently, I think they've got about 30 shanty bands that are going to be coming in and doing sessions. Horlham Woodhouse are going to be obviously providing catering and so on, but it's the first one that they're going to run this year. The expectation is it's going to be quite well received. Generally things are in and around Portishead. It's a really nice community event, with the plan that in a few years' time they might expand that to be a full weekend event. This came about because Bristol Channel Yachting Association have a couple of meets a year. They used to have a meet around about the May time, which was up in Gloucester Docks, but because it's silted up, they couldn't get in and out with the yachts. They approached Portishead. They came here last year, thoroughly enjoyed it, and so they decided that they would like to come back and make it a more permanent annual event. So it's good news. 4.4 is Northwestern allotments. So we have a couple of allotments that Portishead Town Council look after. look after. Northwestern Allotments is one. It's in a little bit of a difficult position at the moment, and that is that in May the current committee will stand down, and they are struggling to find new committee members to chair, secretary, allotment manager. They're looking now to try and create a new committee. If they're unable to, then what will happen is that the allotments will come back under Portishead Town Council management, and there's some implications around that, some costs, etc. But they are working hard. What they're hoping is, as we move into spring, more of the allotment holders will be on site, and they're more likely to get people interested in that sort of one-to-one conversation with each of the individual allotment holders. So they've not sort of said that's it, but they are hoping that over the coming few weeks they will start to get some interest in it, and they will be able to form a committee. And then 4.5 breathing space. So this was brought up a couple of weeks ago by one of the officers in Portishead Town Council. Breathing space is a potential solution to residents, people who find themselves in debt, and as breathing space suggests, you have to go through an application process. You have to go and speak to Christians Against Poverty or Step Change. They're the two organisations that run this. And what they do then is they implement this breathing space, which gives that resident some time off. So, interests are not allowed to be added. The debt collectors are not allowed to come knocking on the door. Everything stops for a period of time, and there is some obligation around it from the resident. They have to enter into some debt management advice, etc., etc. But it certainly feels like it's something that would be beneficial to residents who are finding themselves in challenging times, which many are at the moment. We all know that the financial climate is a challenge for a lot of us. So it's really just bear that in mind. Breathing space. If you know of anybody, hear of anybody, just put the word out. Breathing space. They can search it up. The link to follow is what is breathing space and how to apply. Step change, and that will take you through to an information page, and it advises you about how to go about it. I think that is it from agenda item 4, Chairman's verbal update. Oh, I realise we have got some people online. Just double check everybody online. Lisa or Caroline or Justine or Sonny, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you all good.
Yeah, can hear you fine, thanks.
Yeah, all
Hold on a
good.
minute. I think several of you are speaking, but we can't hear you. Hold on just one moment.
We see you instead.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear us again now, but we were all saying we could all hear fine.
Sonny, could you just speak again and see if we can hear you?
Yeah, can you hear?
Oh, yes, perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, we can hear you now. Apologies for that.
Sweet, no worries. Yeah, just to let you know, we were all saying we can hear fine, so yeah, it's all good.
But we couldn't hear that. But anyway, thanks for your patience there. Agenda item 5 is public participation, but I'm just going to bring 2 items forward from later on, which hopefully will give us a little bit more time to deal with the public participation. So I'm going to bring forward agenda items 7 and 8. So the Spring into Wellbeing evaluation presentation and the Panda presentation. So let me just find my Spring into Wellbeing. And we have Lions, we have Gary Bishop from Lions here, and Laura from the Wellbeing in Portishead Town Council, who basically ran the whole event. It was a very, very successful event. Ran on the 2nd of March with a couple of locations which were mainly Somerset Hall, where we had a load of stalls. There was lots of activities going on in the Beacon Hub. We also had some activities going on in the library and at the Focal, but those were much smaller and they were more sort of participation workshops type activities. Yeah. Within Somerset Hall, the Lions Club were running a blood test event for people to come along. It was, you had to book to go along, have some blood tests. Blood tests were to look for things such as PSA, prostate specific antigen. Yeah, yeah. Did I do that right? Thank you very much. But there was also the option of checks for diabetes, cholesterol, thyroid, liver function, iron function, and kidney function.
Yeah.
By far, PSA was the highest one. We had 134 tests, 262 bookings, and only 11 no shows, which I think is an amazing experience. So well done to everybody involved in that. It really just shows the focus and determination of the likes of the Lions Club and the Portishead Town Council to get this sort of thing out there.
I think it's worth adding, there were 27 people who showed on the day trying to book tests, and we couldn't book on the day, but we took their details and they'll be in contact with them soon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Online, could you hear that?
No.
No. Would you like to? If you want to just sit up and just say that again.
Yeah.
Just introduce yourself so they know who you are.
Okay. Yeah, Gary Bishop, Portishead Lions Club. Just for the record, I'm Director of Commercial Services with the Lions Club. But no, what I was saying about the event was that there were 27 people who showed on the day trying to take or book a blood test. We couldn't do bookings on the day, but their details were taken and they've been contacted since. And they can take it from there then. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. So even if they hadn't booked an appointment, they turned up on the day, that we're still making sure that they will be
Yes.
they will be seen.
Yeah, they'll either go to the next local event, wherever their nearest event is, or they can do it online as well, or they can do it by post, I should say. Yeah, can't do it online.
And I
Thank
think
you.
just no, you're welcome. And just to be sure I'm reading this right, the amber and red PSA
Yeah.
7,
Yeah.
5.2%. Those were amber red flags. So
Yeah.
potentially it's an advisory. Go to your GP. So
Yeah.
So
Mm.
definitely some residents there that potentially could be
Mm.
could have had a much more difficult time ahead. So thank you for that. Lots of exhibitors in Somerset Hall. I won't run through them all, but the likes of Portishead Youth Club and North Somerset LGBT plus, Walnut Grove Vans, and many more. Lions were in there as well, yeah. So, but many more, and what it shows is that it's it's a really popular event with the type of support agencies, those local support groups like the youth centre, etc. So again, amazing turnout, and they are. We've done these wellbeing events before, and they have always been well attended. But I think this has set a new bar as from an attendance point of view. So thank you very much for that. As I mentioned, there was also in the Beacon Hub where we have the Talk Club and Wellspring Counselling, who we've got a grant, cost of living grant application in for. We'll discuss later. NHS Talking Therapies, Willow Gardens, Martha's Kitchen, which is a local one, a church-run charity. Lots and lots of great stuff. Beacon Hub Entertainment. We had the Posset Singers in, Long Ashton Orchestra. And again, the smaller footfall in the Beacon Hub, only 137 plus. So yeah,
They didn't have a clicker.
they didn't have a clicker. There we go. Lessons learned for next time. Yeah. And obviously the cafe was open there. So, you know, the Beacon Hub that run off the profits that they make from the cafe, 90 people went to the cafe and purchased stuff. So again, it means it's beneficial for those guys as well. Running workshops, family wellbeing, craft drop-in, and STEM music workshop with Now Hear This, which is again Now Hear This is something is a music group that we know well. It's something that Portishead Town Council fund through the grant process. They were by far the most popular, with more than 60 people attending those, but followed up very closely by Art Made Easy at the Beacon Hub, where we had 40 people, and then a load of other workshops with, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 attendees, things like fitness class for mums and antenatal sessions, etc. All in all, total participants, I've got 916 in total estimation.
Yeah, across
So-
all the different spaces.
And working on the basis that places like the Beacon and probably the library didn't have clickers, we can estimate they probably missed few, probably a bit conservative. So
And some
near
of
enough
those
1,000.
people would have gone to all the spaces.
Yes.
And some wouldn't have.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's,
Participant feedback, which is obviously key, because we need to understand what the participants, the residents that go into this event, what they feel like, how they come out of it. 71% recorded an outstanding satisfactory result, which just demonstrates how beneficial this is. With 29% meets expectation, nobody below that. So fantastic news. Again, lots and lots of comments in the report. We can share this report out if need be. If anybody wants to see this report, by all means do. There's a lot more detail in here than I'm sharing with you. And then there was a question in there about whether or not they would join us again next year. 93% said they would. Again, which is it's huge credit to those organisers, Laura and Gareth and Lions and all those agencies that went through setting up stalls and supporting them. So a brilliant event. Thank you very much. Exhibitor feedback. Visitor numbers at each stand ranged from 11 to 173, so a real wide range. And 94% of those exhibitors said they would return for a similar event in the future. Yes, Mike.
One of the participant comments which jumped out at me was the one, quote unquote, I arrived at 1925.
Right, come on, because people online can't hear.
Okay. Councillor Mike Johnston. One of the comments, public comments, which jumped out at me was, quote unquote, I arrived at 15:25 for a blood test and most stands were already packing up. So I just wanted to ask, what time was it due to officially finish? And is that a little bit of a concern for the organisers?
Yeah.
I guess it was due to finish at 4.
Yeah, sorry.
So the event was scheduled to finish at 5. It's all rude because you're now behind me, so I'm answering you.
Don't worry,
from
you're
these
answering
eyes, yeah.
everyone.
So the event was scheduled to finish at 4. I think to put that into context, most of the exhibitors were run on a voluntary basis. So those were people coming in their free time to man those stands. It was a very busy and quite long day, and it had to quieten down. But we definitely recognise that that was a concern, that some of the organisations did pack up by 3ish and sort of wanted to go home. And if we are able to put this on again, that's something we would look at. The challenge is having the exhibitors there all day, but also being able to manage the blood tests at the same time, because they have to be spaced in reasonable time for the phlebotomists to do their work and to account for that number of people. But then equally, those exhibitors are talking solidly for 6 hours.
Yeah.
So it's a balancing act, but that's, yeah, it was a very valid comment.
With the one valid comment we discussed at some length.
Yeah, it was the one constructive criticism that we absolutely take on board. How do we manage the exhibitors' time? With the blood testing, the extent of the time that it needed, yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And so the outcome that from the event is that there's a question that needs to go out to the council, and that is whether or not the town council would consider to support a similar event next year. And I think, from my view on that, I think that there are two elements to this. Whether or not, as a group of councillors, we would look to support such an event, but then there is the financial element of that as well, which may need a little bit more digging. But to understand, but we know what the costs were this year, and it's not an expensive event to run. It really isn't an expensive event to run from Portishead Town Council point of view. But we do know that we have challenges next year with budgets, as lots of councils do, and we are having to do a very delicate balancing act with the pounds and the pennies to make sure that we can continue to deliver all the things that we must deliver. I'll just open it up to any councillors who want to comment or have a say.
Just obviously personally myself, with my own high PSI and me going through a prostate investigation, I would do everything in my power to try and carry this on. It's so important for men, and I think, you know, sadly men don't get highlighted. I think it's a point that us men think we can get around everything and don't need to go and see the doctor. And obviously most women know most medical things, as they tend to do, because obviously they deal with a lot more than we do. But I think we're arrogant, and the point of this is to bring men together. I'd like to see a follow-up, but certainly with the people that might have actually have issues with prostate, and if there's a follow-up for the wellbeing group to organise that with those gentlemen, because it's great if other men talk about their problems between them, because it's you know, it does help.
Can I just say that's a difficult.
Sorry, Gary.
We don't know who the people are. GDPR. Yeah, I support and agree with what you're saying. But it's very difficult to get live follow-up like that.
It is a real shame, because I think I certainly found the experience really tough. And you know, what you have to go through is certainly unpleasant.
Yes.
And I think, you know, to help other men in that situation and to sympathise with them is really important.
Couldn't agree with you more. I went through it myself 12 years ago, I suppose. No, it must have been. No, it's not pleasant.
That's something that's pretty scary.
Can I comment?
Yeah.
I think that's why it was a lovely amalgamation with the testing and the exhibitors, because a lot of the exhibitors were mental health supportive based organisations. So for people that were going there for testing, everyone was encouraged to visit all those stands. So they would have picked up a lot of information and signposting to support groups. And the other thing on that is being able to run this day provided a platform for a number of organisations that don't ordinarily, don't at the moment come to Portishead. But it does strengthen that outreach for our town, for those organisations to have further outreach here. But hopefully those men also picked up the signposting for things like Talk Club and Steve Bernard, etc.
Thank you.
Thank you. So sorry,
Can I just say, from a North Somerset perspective, we obviously we knew about this, but I sit in a meeting with a lot of different groups, probably a number of the groups that come along to this, and we were the talk of North Somerset for arranging it. It really isn't something that that many town councils or any town councils, I think, do around the area, and it was seen as a really good thing.
Yep.
So I think if it comes to whether or not the town council would like to support it as a general principle, I think the answer is yes, we'd like to. Whether or not we can afford to is another thing, but we certainly, we should say that we like to. I think.
Absolutely. That was going to be my sort of closing point. I think.
Sorry.
No, you're fine, Roger. You're fine. I think, and I'm, you know, I can only speak from my personal view. I'm very supportive of this, and I think the majority of the councillors would also be supportive of it. They, you know, it is such a good event. We've run a couple of them now, very well attended. The feedback is fantastic, and yeah, you know, you hear comments coming from other councils that sort of say that's the way to do it. So yeah, excellent work. Thank you very much, Gary, Laura, for all your efforts on that.
Can I say a few words?
Yeah. By all means, yeah.
If I may. We've run PSA events in the past, and we get 250 people in. Combining it with a well-being event is just fantastic.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. Okay, we got 250 people in, they had the blood test, super. But with all the other activities that were going on, it was just great, really great. So, yeah, a big thank you to the council for the support. And at the risk of embarrassing her, in all my working life, I've rarely worked with someone so enthusiastic, knowledgeable, and efficient as that lady over there. Yeah,
I know.
yeah. I hope she's blushing. You should.
I wonder which lady he's speaking about.
No, we are very aware of the amazing work, not only with this type of activity like Spring into Wellbeing, but the Portishead Wellbeing Partnership, which you know is just growing from strength to strength. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So there's a recommendation on it to consider whether or not the council would support a similar event in 2025. As Roger has said, as I've said, and you'll have seen the nods around the table. I think as a group of councillors, we are supportive of it. But it would need to go through the process. We would need to find the funding for it, etc. Although it's not a huge pot of money required. So I'm not saying that's insurmountable, but we would need to go through that process.
Yeah.
But the benefits of this, are phenomenal. So, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item, agenda item 8, Panda presentation. So, okay. So,
mind if I left?
by all means.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
I don't wish to be rude, but we have a fundraising event tonight as well.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, we have Chris from Panda Group. Panda is a local community group, charity that's been running for a number of years. I won't steal your thunder. I'll let you talk about them. Portishead Town Council have provided some funds via the grant process for a number of years. A lot of years, with a little break. With a little break, yeah, during COVID, and so generally what we do with organisations that we provide grants to over a number of years, we do ask them just to come in and just talk a little bit about what they do with the money that we give them, just so as other councillors get a clearer view.
Okay,
So
so
I'll hand over to you.
okay, I'm one of the volunteers on the committee for Panda, which stands for Portishead Additional Needs Disco and other activities. We work with or support a group of between 30 and 40 adults with learning disabilities and other additional needs. We are very grateful to the Town Council for the, well, since I've been on the committee, for the 2 grants. The money that we received a couple of years ago, we spent it on, we run discos every month. So we have a DJ and the hire of the hall. We also have a Christmas party where we provide food and presents for the adults. And then we take ideas for what they would like to do and what they'd like to sort of do in their spare time. So last year we went to the outdoor cinema at Clevedon Hall, and that was really, you know, successful. They really enjoyed the cinema and taking part in that. We also went ice skating. We go skittle sessions over at Clarence House, craft sessions, because actually all of them really enjoy. We've made cards, we've made wind chimes, we've made various things. So we used all the funds to pay for like crafting supplies, and we bought in some people that really knew what they were doing with craft. And then we also spent some money on some litter pickers, because it's something that we're really passionate about. Is not only is it a community of people with additional needs, but also they're part of the wider community of Portishead. And so it's really important that they are visible and that their contributions are valued and they can see the value of what they're doing. So I really love doing litter picking, because, you know, people stop us and ask us what we're doing and who they are. And, you know, we end up having some great conversations. And once we managed to, a few of them came with us to the pub afterwards. And it was really nice to see people really interacting. And, you know, that's something that hasn't historically been the case with people with additional needs. So our aim really is to support those living with additional needs, for them to feel confident and valued and to be part of the community. And we've supported, I think, 3 or 4 young people who've managed to get voluntary placements. So we've kind of coached them into doing that. So one worked at the Lido for the Lido pool, cafe, and we've had 3 that have volunteered at the Beacon Hub. So to be on the chatty table to make conversations, and I just think it's lovely to see them and the confidence that comes out of them. We just provide opportunities for them to socialise and to build relationships. And within that, we are supporting their families and their carers, that it's a very safe place for them to explore friendships and, you know, and all the things that happen with friendships, when they fall out, when they don't, you know, and all those type of things. So it's been really interesting. But also, I think for us, using community facilities, like Clarence House, where everyone's all together. Like when we hire the skittles, we don't hire it out for all of us. So there's other people using it, and, you know, our Panza folk are wanting to know what's going on in the other lanes, and everyone has just been so accepting. And I think for them, it's just lovely to see. And on a personal note, actually, volunteering for Panda is something that genuinely brings me tremendous joy. I could have had the busiest, most stressful week, come on the Friday to the folk hall, to the disco, and that's it. I just think people with additional needs can teach us so much about living life to the full, to be content with what you have, and just no filters. Everything is just, it's exciting, everything's new, and that's really refreshing, I think, you know. So for us, it's fantastic. We just can't thank you enough for the money. And this coming year, we're hoping to do the same thing. We still do the discos and the Christmas party, but they've asked to do a theatre trip. So we're in consultations with the Hippodrome about some accessible things that are there, just because obviously it's quite loud, and so carrying on with the craft sessions, and also going to the Wild Place for a day, because that they really look forward to that. So, honestly, we couldn't do it without the funding. We ask for donations, but sometimes it's difficult to get that, and obviously we don't ask carers or family members that come with them to pay, so we cover that cost.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Anybody want to grill? No?
No, not at all. It just sounds, everything was just, yeah, it sounds amazing.
But obviously, welcome anytime anybody would like to come and join us to
I mean,
have a bop on the dance floor.
I've attended, as you know, several times. I've raised money for the group back in the troubled times,
Yeah.
obviously, when they just used to have the disco.
Yeah.
The funny thing is it might be a bit scary for people, but once you get to know these adults, your life changes. You realise they're just like everybody else, you know, and like you say, they have their own personal problems.
Yeah.
You know, the boyfriend and girlfriends that go to these discos, and you know, it's nice to see that sort of aspect. Really,
It's just, I think it's good for them to have that support that isn't, you know, we're not being paid to support them, and I think that's where the sort, you know, it's really good to have this. So, you know, we're not their carers and we're not their family, and actually we're a safe place, and they usually will come and tell us quite a lot of what's going on. But it's nice to be able to support them and to challenge them a little bit to move on, because it's like the whole idea, meaningful work is so meaningful, and the volunteering, and we've helped somebody like coach them for their theory, for their driving test, and things like that, and you know, making sure that they, you know, the world is their oyster, as you know, and they've got as much right to the things that we take for granted a little bit. But
I've been fortunate enough to have some of the members come along and help with litter picking that I run in my sort of local area, and they've come along and helped in that, and yeah, it's been just enlightening. And I've also been fortunate enough to come along to a couple of the Christmas parties. I know Laura's come along to one, and it's just a, like you said, it's a joy. It's a joy to go in and just be part of that for a couple of hours. So thank you.
Can I offer an idea?
Yeah.
I was at Bramrock on Tuesday, and they're always looking for adult volunteers for their market garden. All right. And it would be outdoors, and it's quite held, and it's a safe space. And it's, you know, they would literally be building and creating and market gardening, and the profits get turned back into Bramrock. So I say I'm happy to link you up. That'd be brilliant. Thank you.
And it's not far. It's only Tickenham, isn't it?
Sticking them,
Yeah.
yeah. So you wouldn't transport. That'd be the only. It's not walking
sure we can
distance, yeah.
Just a thank you back.
Yeah.
Really, to all of the volunteers, isn't it?
yes, it's a very small committee. It's just 3 of us.
But no, Emma's absolutely right. Thank you so much for what you do.
Yeah.
Garden's wild.
Yes.
I did warn you.
No, it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is good fun.
Although there is a set playlist.
Yeah.
Playlist, so.
I did debate on the playlist. They tried several times to change that playlist. That's
Nope.
for sure.
Nope.
The residing memory I have of the Panda Christmas disco is that normally when you walk into a disco, everyone's sat around the edges and the music's playing, and eventually people will start to drift onto the dance floor. They're on the dance floor and the
Nothing
music
happens
hasn't
at
even
Panda Disco,
started.
Yeah.
But they're up,
Take
yeah,
it.
they're up and dancing.
But it's brilliant, you know, we do the conga with, you know, we've got a couple of people in wheelchairs and all that, so yes, it's all no holds barred, so
And they
no
re-
filters, no holds barred.
The funny thing is, they remember you. That's the
Yes,
amazing
they
part. You know, their memory is really good.
You can get away with nothing, so like I say.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. Really
Thank you.
appreciate your time this evening.
No, thank you very much. Thank you.
And as with Gary, if you feel like you would like to head on, by all means do.
Recycling.
Okay, then we're gonna flip back now to the normal agenda item. So the next item on the list is public participation. So this is a time when members of the public, either in the room or online, can make statements, raise questions, relevant supporters head, to which an answer we may be able to answer it here and now. We may have to take it away and come back to you later. All we ask is if you're in the room, if you want to ask a question, if you can come and sit up so the microphone picks it up. If you can say who you are, so name, and then you can start with your questions. So shall we start online? Is there anybody online who would like to say something?
Yeah, I've got a question if that's all right.
Okay, sure, Sonny.
Cool, yeah. So Sunny Slater. I was just wondering, I don't know if, to be honest, I don't actually know if this is exactly the right place to be asking. So let me know if it's not. But I was just wondering regarding the incoming train station, do we have any plans to sort of improve or not public transport, but active transport access to the train station site? Because I don't know, I've been doing a lot of research online about mode share of active transport and public transport. And basically what I've found from reading quite a few academic papers is there's generally a very strong link in feeder modes. So if essentially what I'm getting at is if there are good footpaths and cycle paths leading up to an important piece of travel infrastructure, like the train station, I'm sure we all know is going to be hugely impactful. I'm just wondering whether we have any plans to increase sort of footpaths and cycle path accessibility to the station, because with those infrastructures there, it basically increases the percentage of people that go to the active transport, or sorry, the public transport, using sort of completely carbon neutral modes of transport. So basically, yeah, what I'm trying to say is, are we going to increase the number of footpaths and cycle paths leading up to the train station from sort of the urban core of Portishead, so like the high street, the sort of Waitrose area, places like that, just basically to prevent lots of traffic going to the train station and lots of people trying to park there.
Okay, well, thank you, Sonny. It just so happens we have Councillor Johnston here, who is the chair of Portishead Town Council Planning Advisory Group. And I know that there have been a lot of plans that have passed before your eyes.
They have, yes, dozens.
So hopefully Mike will be able to answer some of your questions, if not all of it, but we will take them away if we can answer them here.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Firstly, have you seen the plan for the actual station itself?
Yes, it's been, I think, a month or two, so I'm probably slightly rusty on it, but I have seen it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There are, as you know, going to be road improvements there, and there'll be almost certainly a bus hub. So public transport, there'll be a bus hub related to that. And in terms of cycling and walking, yes, there will be pedestrianised access from the gravel path leading to Sainsbury's. And hopefully beyond that, but the land ownership beyond that is part of the John Lewis group, and negotiations have to be made in relation to that land. But initially, yes, from the gravel path, there will be a public route for pedestrians and cyclists down to the railway station. And at the moment, it's going to be Old Mill Road, which really will be the main route through from the High Street area, which we will hope in due course will get improved.
Okay, cool.
To answer your question?
Yeah, I suppose so.
And almost certainly there'll be bike storage facilities at the station itself.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, is there, just wondering, obviously I understand the sort of land ownership problems with sort of Waitrose and John Lewis in that area. But the gravel path, I'm not sure who owns it, but is that a council asset? Because is there sort of any consideration to potentially trying to resurface that to make it perhaps more appropriate to alternative like bikes? So people who have like maybe road bikes or like, I don't know, e-scooters or whatever it is people are going about on.
Well, hopefully by the opening of the station in the back end of 2026, yes, those issues will be resolved, because I fully agree with you that it's not acceptable at the moment, and I'm sure that in due course it will get upgraded as hopefully a temporary route from Old Mill Road, and then in due course right through to the Waitrose car park, and hopefully through a gap into the back of the rank of shops there. I think that could be a possibility. I'm looking at Roger here, Roger Whitfield. Next to what were they called? Pets at Home, aren't they? there could be a gap through there, which could then lead into the high street. But all that sort of infrastructure is being looked at the moment, because we all accept that it's not an appropriate route through from the current high street and the back of Wyndham Way and the back of Iceland and so on.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Also, I suppose the other thing that might be worth considering for that sort of gravel path area, if we were to sort of improve that spot, would be to consider some additional street lighting there as well. So I know it's somewhere that particularly sort of female members of the community feel sort of not so safe going through. Obviously not that Portishead's a particularly scary or dangerous area, but you know, people are
Point taken. I mean, I imagine that the pedestrian walkway itself leading from the gravel path down to the station will be illuminated, yes. And the station itself is illuminated with this blue curtain wall with downlighting on it. So hopefully it'll be quite a nice feature.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's pretty much answered everything. Just while you're in the room.
By the way.
Yeah, thank you. Just while you're in the room, I thought it might be easy to ask. Are there any sort of public meetings or consultations or anything about the train station that are sort of available for people to join in on, or?
Yeah, nothing yet. Nothing yet. I don't. Councillor Whitfield is here, who's a Portishead Town Councillor, but also a North Somerset councillor, and I'm on the exec. I think you just wanted to.
Yeah, I just wanted to address a couple of points. That, I mean, obviously the rail project is being done by Metro West. It's overseen, or part of it is overseen by, I think it's Mike Bell down at North Somerset. But most of the active travel stuff, highways, if not all the active travel stuff, highways and walkways, are normally dealt with by North Somerset, so that's where that tends to go on. This sits also in the Wyndham Way development plan, which is still being sketched together at the moment. But we had a meeting recently, and myself, Mike, a couple of others, with the consultants and designers of that, and access to the station, cycle routes, cycle storage, bus hubs, everything else all came up in that conversation as well. So it sort of goes across a number of different areas, but it is being talked about quite a lot. And the closer we get to getting a final plan for the station, I think the more it will be spoken about.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, that's very nice, very informative. Cheers. I don't know if it's particularly appropriate at all, but I'm working as an economic consultant at the moment. I graduated university last year, and I'm working mostly on sort of regeneration plans and stuff. So I just thought I'd offer, if there's any sort of scope for some like voluntary sort of help, research support, or anything like that, I'd be happy to contribute some time. I don't know if that's something you can sort of do just informally, or if there's processes you need to go through or whatever. But yeah, I'd be happy to volunteer a bit of time to do that, just because it's something. Obviously, it's like where I've grown up, so it's just something I care about, as opposed to doing it for like a job related thing.
Yeah, super. Sunny, thank you. If you could just drop an email to the inquiries mailbox at Portishead Town Council. That's inquiries at portishead.gov.uk, and then we'll have your email address, and then we'll look into any possibilities around that and get in touch with you. But thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Cheers.
Anybody else online?
Yes, Justine here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you.
Should I put my video on as well? Might be a bit nicer. Is it working?
Yeah.
Yep.
You see me? Hi. I wasn't quite clear from the agenda whether with the parking you're going to discuss that today, or it was just a note that you'd received the consultation to complete. So I sent Bob a note earlier just with some of my initial thoughts. I've been speaking to quite a lot of people in the lake grounds, and I think there's a concern that everything's so much online, whereas in Portishead we've got a very high percentage of elderly residents. So that this is, and I've spoken to a lot of them, and they have no idea at all that this is going on. So it's how do we engage with them and actually get them to be able to complete the consultation survey, but actually get their voices heard as well. Don't know, are you going to discuss it later or is it appropriate now?
Well, there is an agenda item later that goes over the consultation, and it's really just or the item on the agenda is really just to sort of advise people to get out there and get as many people to complete. the
Yeah, that's what I was
consultation.
wondering. Yeah, okay.
But also from a town council point of view, we have an option to respond to that consultation. But then I do know that Bob and Roger both want to maybe expand that conversation a little bit more around
Considerable more.
yeah what that might be. So if you're happy to hang on, yeah, and as we get
Okay.
through, it is a little bit further on in the agenda, but yeah, that will open up to be a broader discussion.
Okay, I might drop off for a bit and come back then, but otherwise if I miss it, then I'll catch up with you, Bob, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
absolutely fine.
Yeah,
One thing I did think was whether we could print a load of flyers, maybe with Roger's help, to actually put them on cars at the front to get some of the people involved.
yeah,
Yes, we're obviously, as you're aware, Justin, you know, this is the start. We've done quite a bit of review already. Obviously, you've talked about concessions to me today. And again, we look back at this in 2019 and 2020 with previous independent council. So yeah, I did do quite some investigation at the time and the possibilities and the effects that it might have, obviously with the town.
Yeah. Okay. All right then. So I'll drop off for a bit anyway. Thank you.
all right, can I just think?
Cheers, Tom.
Anybody else online got a question they want to raise? Caroline or Lisa? You're both on mute. I'll take that as a no. If you're struggling to come off, okay, all right, thank you. Anybody in the room? No. Okay, so that pulls us to the end of public participation. Agenda item 6, minutes of the previous meeting. So members to consider and approve the minutes of the committee meeting held on the 22nd of February 2024 as a correct record attached. Has everybody had a chance to review those minutes? Yeah. Anybody got any questions around them?
No, all good.
Okay, so the recommendation is for the chairman to sign the minutes as a correct record. I have a proposer, Jenny, and a seconder, Emma, and all in favour?
Thank you.
Okay, I'll sign those at the end. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. We've done some. Okay, agenda item 9 is an update from the public participation working group. We got that the right name? Is it not? Is it not public engagement or resident engagement or
Public participation
And
and engagement, I think.
yeah. I think the engagement bit, it sort of reads to me a bit like, you know, it's what we've just done. I think it's the engagement piece.
It's a bit wider than
Yeah.
just the public participation sessions that happen here. Yeah.
Yeah, no, indeed.
So,
So I
Emma.
yes, I'm nominated spokesperson for that tonight.
you what?
So following our presentation to full town council, the next steps that we were moving on to were the officer engagement. So we have initially I've had a meeting with Amy, communications officer, just to run through the presentation and to be brought up to speed with the other engagement documents that had already been in sort of living documents in the council as well. So what we want to make sure is that we're not on different tracks and everything is all in alignment, which thankfully everything is. So what we've started to discuss now is the actual next steps of promoting the working group. how we're going to get out to all of the residents and the public to make sure that they are aware of the working group, and then look to actually get, you know, people's interest and activity nominations, etc., for becoming involved. So I've discussed with Amy all of our different avenues and channels that we've got at the moment available to us, through our community groups, through notice board, online, through, you know, both printed matter and online. So we want to make sure that we are touching everybody, something that Justine mentioned as well. So the next steps which Amy is working on is to actually get together the material which we're going to publish in the newsletters, flyers and online, which will be coming back to everybody just to sign off. But alongside that, we're also kind of encapsulated a bit more of a mission statement to explain to people what it actually is. So there's no misunderstanding. Is it engagement? Is it is it participation? Exactly what we're looking for. So I've put a bones of something together, but again, that will be a living statement, because it'll be our statement as a town, in opposed to my statement or Roger's statement or the working group statement or anybody's statement. So we'll have that as a bit of a framework, but hopefully that will explain to everybody what we are doing and what we are trying to do. So towards the end of April, that will be the time when we're actually sort of publicising it in all of our different channels to everybody. Hopefully we've been able to actually get the working groups in situ from May onwards, really. So yeah, that's what we are. Progress, stepping forward, and yeah, just making sure everybody that we can get involved in a constructive and positive manner to move on.
For those online and in the room who may not have understood what it is.
Prior knowledge of it.
Prior knowledge of it, yeah. Do you want to just give a really brief summary as to what the goal is?
Yeah. So the goal is really to make sure that we've got positive, constructive public engagement as a town council. So our decisions that we're making are informed. We're informing through a clear communication channels across the board, and that we can empower the residents of Portishead to be able to know that their sentiment and their wants and needs are being listened to and addressed, and we can demonstrate that contribution is actually what we're using to define our strategies and our decision-making process.
Okay. Thank you.
Hopefully nutshell version
And we
of
should get a meeting in after Easter to go over that. I got your email, thank you very much. And yeah, we can just formalise some of that as soon as we can after Easter, I think, because time flies, doesn't it?
It does.
We're running into and part of the engagement needs to be during good weather, because we're going to do something outside. So we're sort of running up on that time now, aren't we? Hopefully when we'll get good weather.
Yeah, we're waiting.
Super. Thank you very much. Anyone got any questions on that one?
Questions?
No. Okay. Well, there we go. Must be a complete update from you then.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay.
Agenda item 10, cost of living fund application. Consider the following cost of living application from Wellspring. An application to the cost of living fund has been received from Wellspring Counselling for 9,500 to continue their low cost one-to-one counselling sessions for Portishead residents. They're currently running 26 sessions, 26 sessions a week. Is that a week? No.
Might be 26 people a week.
No, it's
Could be 26 a year.
But anyway, yeah. So anyway, it's this is the cost of living fund application. We have previously given them some grant funding, cost of living funding. It was slightly more than last year.
we topped it up. They came and then because of what it was that they were doing, it was suggested to be topped up slightly, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think the initial application came in and it was sort of what we believe we're going to need, and it became apparent that that wasn't going to get them through to the end of that year. So they did come back for a little bit of a top up. So this feels like a much more fixed sort of fee with the knowledge that they've got from the last 12 months.
And it is 26 a week. It's 26 counselling sessions covering 3 different venues, and they take place Monday to Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's places. And
Places,
it-
yeah.
It's offers of
It's of their session.
consultation sessions, yeah, of 26 per week. Has everybody read the application? Anybody got any questions on it? Okay.
So I had a question, and this is very brief. And I asked the question to several knows to Wendy and pass it on to Laura, because I had been concerned when I'd seen the interim report from the group, I think about 3 months into the work, and there'd been quite high administration costs. I think the administration costs something like 3 times the council cost, something like that. So I asked the question, you know, is that right? And I got a very good reply. Thanks, Laura. Yesterday from the group explaining how they arrived at their administration costs. And my sense is it works out about £50 a session overall. If you look at the totality, which is good value for money, I think, for a council service. So my concerns were mitigated. Thanks. Okay. I'd be happy to support this again.
All right. Well, Roger.
I only have one very quick question on it, which was the money that they previously received, was that last year?
Yes.
Although it
it's-
came,
it's
it came,
still-
I noticed it came in 2 installments.
It did, yeah, because the,
So,
as I said,
was
the
it
initial-
last year, but in this financial year, or in the previous, so was it in the previous financial year?
Yes.
Was my question. Yes, so this is
This
will come out a whole new
this will come out
This
of
will
the
come
new
out.
financial year, yes.
brilliant. That's all there was no date, so I wasn't sure.
No. And the reason there were 2 was, as I said earlier, that the initial application was that they sort of had to put a level of guesstimation around what the costs, you know, the uptake would be. And they came back and they said, well, look, you know, this isn't going to get us to the date, to the month that they expected it to run to. This pretty much matches, although it's a tiny little bit less, pretty much what they had last year. So it stacks up. I'm personally supportive of it. I think it's a great cost of living grant application. Anybody else got any questions on it, or shall we? There's no recommendation on it. There should be though, shouldn't there?
Should be,
There should be, yeah.
Yeah.
So recommendation would be that the to approve the cost of living fund application for Wellspring counselling of £9,500 to continue their low cost one-to-one counselling session for some residents. And we have a proposer. Start right was the first one.
Thank you. Your number.
Donald. And then all those in favour? Okay, thank you everyone for that.
Well, can I just raise a more general point?
Yeah.
And that's when we consider applications like this. I think it was helpful to me to see the report of how the last 12 months have gone from. So I think as a matter of course, it would be useful to see, and it's routine practice in NHS funding at the end of the period of grant funding to receive a report about how that money's been spent. I think at the moment, rather than we will do interim reports.
We do, yeah, we do.
Can I just say, Mr. Chairman, we did talk about that when we initially set up the cost of living fund. But the decision was that we wouldn't actually do that because we were trying to make that fund as quick a turnaround and reaching out to as many people as we possibly could. We wanted to streamline. So we deliberately took out the ask for reports and things, and I think if we try and do that now, after a year of running it, that may cause issues. I think if there are individual questions that need to be asked on individual applications, we can do it that way, but I think to try and impose reports and reporting now, we've only got a year left to run this cost of living. After that, it will cease. So I just wanted to make that point. It was deliberately taken out because of the situation. Yeah.
Ask the question. I don't expect an answer, but I know it's interesting that it's open to people over the age of 11. So I'd be really interested to know how many of those are under 18. I know you can't answer the question now, but that might be useful to get a feel for.
Maybe that's a question that we can go back to. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Anything else on that one? Or we okay to move on? Okay, agenda item 11, St Peter's Road weeding scheme. David, I think you were going to give us a, because I know you were involved in this one.
Okay, so this is just a quick update because things have moved on a little bit since the weed control day down at North Somerset about a month ago now, which I went to along with Roger and Janet, I think. The history of it is, and this goes back to the last council, that there had been an agreement reached. No one likes using weed killers. And there's a lot of concern in this town, as in many others around the country and internationally, about the use of glyphosate, which is a weed killer, concerns about its effects on wildlife, health concerns, and so on and so forth. And so it had been agreed, I think about a year and a half ago, that as an experiment, St Peter's Road would be kept glyphosate free. And so it was last weeded and sprayed by the council in around June 22. And then I think it got forgotten for a while. And then in October 23, someone said, hang on a minute, what's going on with St Peter's Road? And so a group of about 8 of us went out and did some manual weeding, following some comms, try and get local residents involved as well. And between the 9 of us, we spent a couple of hours weeding. We covered about 25 to 30 metres of the road per person, about 200 metres in total. And we reached a conclusion, this is very hard work. And if we need to carry it on, it really does need local residents involved, better comms support. And so at the Weed Control Day, Somerset put in the offer that on the 4th of April, that's next Friday, they're going to do a thorough weeding of St Peter's Road and all the offshoots of it, so we can start afresh with this ambition. And I think Amy has agreed to do some comms. Roger and I have agreed to hand deliver leaflets to residents in the area. We felt the comms last time probably didn't, we know they didn't reach all residents. So the idea would be a month or 2 on from the 4th of April to get a community group together and try and get something going on a regular basis. Also suggested to them that they might want to try and link this with their Adopt a Street litter picking campaign, and so they may take that forward. They seem to think it was a potentially good idea. So watch this space really. I'd expect we'll be out, we'll hopefully a group out there sometime in late May, early June. And let's see with better comms if we might get better coverage. It is hard work, it needs to be done regularly, but I think it's a good ambition. Lots of residents have raised this issue about the use of glyphosate. So is that it over, Roger?
Yeah, no, I think so. There was one resident from that area at the weed day, wasn't there? And she said she was unaware of it. So clearly our message hadn't landed with everybody, and maybe not with as many as we might have hoped on that one. And it was very unexpected, wasn't it, that for North Somerset, some clearance department to just turn around and offer out of the blue to just come out and say, well, if you're going to continue with the trial, we'll just do that for you. It was absolutely fantastic. And I did send an email saying, we're definitely taking you up on it, so don't forget you said it. And they've set a date now, so yeah, it'll give us a real good jump start, won't it, I think. We just need to get some community engagement behind it.
And that's the idea behind the leafleting, is to try and rally some of the locals.
It's not that many houses. I said I'll just print a few leaflets
Yeah.
off and we'll get them through the doors and see if we can get some more engagement going there.
It's not I've leaflet dropped around there before. It's a relatively quick run to do.
We've all leafleted all over Portishead, haven't we? Let's be honest.
Yeah. Okay, all right, well, thank you very much for that. Any questions from anybody? No? All right, agenda item 12, project management plan, trial update. I'm not going to read through this, all the climate action update. I'm very conscious of time, and we do have quite a topic to go through in a minute. But the project management process update, that there are some challenges in there. I've had a long meeting with the officer running that today, and that project working group, we are going to need to put some time in. The officer is on leave now for 2 weeks, so when they come back, those councillors that sit on that project working group, we're gonna need to put some time in to work through the lessons learned. There's a long list. So have a look at it. If you've got any questions on it, by all means, email them in and we will get them added to the list when we go through them. Climate action update. This is a bit disappointing. Initially it got quite a bit of support. There was an event put on at the Poacher, quite a good attendance, quite a few local companies came along and supported it. But then follow-on events from that we're really struggling to get the buy-in from those companies, those stallholders. So we're going to need to maybe have a bit of a rethink about this. But again, have a read the report. It doesn't make good reading. Okay. But again, climate action, it's something that we should be doing as a council. We should be looking at this, but I think we might need to have a bit of a rethink about how we go about it. Okay. Then item 14, wellbeing coordinator update. Well, Laura, would you like to take us through it?
Well, I just like to stay in case you have any questions.
Okay. So updates. So Portishead Wellbeing Partnership Q2 meeting, Living Well, on the 17th of April. Presentations from North Somerset LGBT and Reclaim Disability, chronic conditions scheduled. Yeah, there was as always, these wellbeing partnership meetings are well attended. They are. When it started off a few years ago, the idea of it, which was started by a couple of councillors, the idea was created with a couple of councillors. It has now grown to being a much more fixed agenda item in the town council's monthly, quarterly meetings. Very well attended. Huge number of support agencies come along and support it, get involved, and that's seen when we do things such as Spring into Wellbeing, etc. A lot of those agencies go in and support that. All driven again by Laura, so huge thanks, Laura, for that. Wellbeing workshops, dementia and fall prevention, both of those in March, and the last workshop in the series, End of Life Conversations, 17th of April. Handover plan. When you say you talk about the handover plan for the series of workshops, So is that sort of an output from the workshops?
Because when, because I had some funding to run those workshops from Surrey Health Foundation, and
Yep.
part of that funding was that we would run it in Portishead as a pilot, that series of workshops, to see if it could be rolled out across other localities, across wider North Somerset.
Okay.
That's great, except there's not many wellbeing coordinators left to
Yeah.
then pick that up and roll with it. No, there is Lady in Weston.
Okay,
So as we're nearing the end of the first series, I'm trying to evaluate the whole lot and keep that contact, all the contacts from those workshops, lessons learned, make it sort of something that could be transferred to other localities, and share that with Woodspring locality, Western Well locality. There's a patient support group in Nailsea that are going to run a workshop. They're starting with diabetes. So it's just that I can share that information so that the benefits of those series of workshops can be rolled out in other localities.
almost a template.
A template,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
But I can't do that until I finish the whole series to see, where we've tweaked. That's what that means.
All right. We also, so along with the Spring into Wellbeing, we have the mental health and nature-based project. Although,
So that starts next month.
yeah, well, we had a little bit of bad news on that, didn't we? Which was around some funding applications that went in that got turned down, which was a real. It's not a showstopper for it, though, is it? No, it just.
There's existing funding in place, and the pilot scheme will go ahead next month out of Bordeno School, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Bordeno really involved. The challenge with that is if it's kept in Bordeno's, that excludes excluded pupils.
Yeah.
So that we can't then draw that out to maybe children that really need that outreach. But the pilot is brilliant because then that's an evidence base, so that can then be used potentially for other funding pots moving forward.
Okay.
To fund it differently. And with the funding, there were a few applications that were successful, but that we weren't, we supported but didn't head up, so there is some UK Shared Prosperity funding coming to Portishead this time with this round of funding, which is good news. It's not our project.
Just not ours. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. The eating disorders support group. We've had one of those now, or two?
I had one this afternoon as well.
So that's the second one then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and well attended.
Needs promote. They're really aware that it needs 6 months to bed in.
Okay.
And we need to keep promoting it. We do have the follow up. There is one of those wellbeing workshops is disordered eating, and in the second series that will hopefully help promote the fact that we now have outreach in Portishead for eating disorders. But yeah, it needs promoting. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And it's the Step Forward program, which is the 6-week fully funded program supporting people in their wellbeing journey with skills training. Again, that's going to be, and that's looking like that's got quite a few people already.
That's already signed up, and what's exciting about that one is the initial one was signed up. That's great, and then there was a second meeting with the ESOL group in the library. So they're now going to run 2 groups on the same day, and the afternoon group will be for people that don't speak English as a first language, and they've got English speakers. English. I can't remember what it stands for. It's something about English not being your first language. I can't remember the acronym.
Okay.
Lovely acronym. Sorry, I should have put the full thing. But on that second group, there's some people that are from Ukraine that are on that group. There's a refugee from Afghanistan that is on that group, and there's some Hong Kong British overseas nationals on that group. So they have quite strong English, but it is a really good support group to get them back into employment in this country. So the fact that they can run both those groups in parallel.
Okay, thank you. And then North Somerset Together, several consultations currently active, actually the parking consultation, which we will come on to in a moment. UK Share Prosperity Fund, Local Priorities Survey, Waste Consultation, and Mental Health and Wellbeing Strategy. Now that was Amy, who joined our local coffee morning, was that?
Not entirely. So she was doing adult social care, which feeds into the mental health and wellbeing strategy.
Okay.
We probably as a council need to comment on that strategy, and I don't think that has happened yet. And then second to that, there is a health and wellbeing strategy. They haven't released the consultation for that yet, but that initial strategy is coming to an end in 2024. So health and wellbeing is a separate strategy. There's mental health and wellbeing, and then there's health and wellbeing. And the council would be well placed to comment on both. And the other thing, if as councillors you wanted to jump onto the UK Share Prosperity Fund Local Priority Survey, because they are going to assess whether it's worth them doing a third stream of funding and what the local priorities around the localities of North Somerset are, and then they will look at that.
And do you know, is there a timescale for that?
I think it's May.
Okay, everything's in May, isn't it?
It is basically because
Everything's
it's
in May.
budgets. The only one that's not in May
We've got long
is
leave.
the health and wellbeing, because that's
Okay.
running to the end of this financial year, so that's a new one we're looking at.
Well, let's make sure we get those on our list to make sure we go back on those. And then there's a bunch of meetings you've got listed in here, which are going through training and webinars, and then so for any questions for your
So first of all, comments, I submitted some comments to the mental health strategy. It was quite frustrating because there were lots of boxes where you could put free text, and they probably knew I was going to be answering it, and I think I was cut out after a single sentence. So it was fantastic text I prepared. But I'm happy to, if anyone else wants to submit comments, I'm happy to share some of the things I scribbled down. But it's just two questions for Laura. It's great to see 2 grants being awarded to local partnership groups, Workrow, Youth Centre. Do you know how much they were for?
Yes, so I believe that, and they were both not the full amount that they requested. However, I believe the Youth Centre got 9,000, and I believe that Wilmot Grove got 15 of the.
That's good.
Yeah, so they're really exciting projects that they're going to bring to Portishead. Yeah. The only other thing to flag is the Philo project, because I know Councillor Martin. He raised the issue of dementia daycare and respite care in Portishead, but it's very limited and we don't have any. So I wanted to flag up that North Somerset Council is commissioning a new service with the Philo project, where they train people to host dementia residents with dementia in their home. So if you are interested in going through that training, or you want to signpost anyone that is caring for a person with dementia, they go to the person's house, they pick them up, and it's like a daycare from 10 to 4. If you are low income, it's very heavily subsidised, and there will be 2 properties in Portishead that have gone through that recruitment and training process. So that's the first respite care for dementia that we haven't had in Portishead for quite a while. So just open that to everyone.
Kind of needs to be on Amy's.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the Portishead properties they're not through the process yet, but they are in a pipeline. I think there's 3 in Weston, but there is hopefully going to be 2 in Portishead, which is fab.
Thank you.
Thank you.
agenda item 15, grant laws 2024. So just a note that the documentation forms for the grant funding 24 have been completed. It says on here they're being completed, but they have been completed. I saw the final version came out earlier today. Yep.
Yes.
And we'll be ready for the launch. Obviously, grants open on the 8th of April, run through to the 16th of December. So prepare. Thanks, Laura.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. So that's really a note just for everybody, which then brings us on to agenda item 16, which is consultations. Right. Okay.
I don't think anyone's interested. are
No.
they?
Okay. Let's kick off with the one that's probably the hot topic of on many people's agendas today, which is the parking management strategy. As we sort of touched on earlier on, there's two elements to this. There's the residents completing the consultation and feeding back, and we should be encouraging as many residents as possible. I think there's a lady online, Christine pointed out that, you know, an online consultation is going to miss a significant proportion of what he said. So we need to do what we can to make sure that those people are aware and guide them to where they can. Is there an obvious route in? Library, yeah. And is it paper copies or on paper copies?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'll go through it with them. I suppose sound good.
There's also the Somerset Hall meeting, which is on there as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other day, there's a meeting in Somerset Hall, both during the day and early evening or late afternoon, isn't it? So there's a sort of there's an early afternoon and a late afternoon session in the Somerset Hall. Is it on here? Is it
No, it isn't.
It's on that one. Is
It's, yeah, so
it's on the back page of that one, I think. Is it the 18th of April or something?
18th of April.
Yeah, so that's
And does that give residents the opportunity to go in and complete the service?
probably. Normally this is run by Emma, and she normally takes a number of paper copies with her, which she has ready for people. So I would sort of, I'll check with her and see.
I think it would be a good place, even
Yeah.
if it's a case of just some way to hand them out.
But I will say I had a small non-monetary bet with Emma that we would get more responses from the parking consultation than we would from the waste consultation. And she said the exact opposite. We didn't put any money on it. It's just, you know, I said one thing, she said the other. And I hate to say it, but so far we've had 8,000 people return the waste consultation and 4,000 on the parking. So I'm losing that one really badly. And I'm going to have to eat humble pie next time I see her, unfortunately.
And that is a big.
It's a bit
Because the parking only really affects us in the north, and the waste affects everyone across the whole of North Somerset. And I missed that when I took that back to that.
But we've also got the question in here that you know, not only is this residents consultation feedback, but also as a council, we're being asked to feedback on those as well. Yes, Dean.
And I know already that some of the late grant groups are planning to put in comments to us as well as to.
I've already
some
received some today.
So I think we're going to receive comments as a town council. So I think we need to make a decision about whether I think on the actual form is a box you can tick to say this is the town council response.
There's a form for the town council. We said that, sorry, when this all came to the executive, we asked for the town council to have a different set of questions which open things up more for the town council to make other suggestions, which weren't necessarily being asked in the other one. So you've got, as a town council, you've got a wider remit. The closing date is before the next council meeting, which means that really I would guess that tonight you'd probably set one or two people to go away, research it, get the answers in, get them circulated and back, because that's what we've done with other things with consultation, yeah.
Yeah, we were just discussing this
Yeah.
before the meeting, so,
Yeah.
absolutely, I agree with you. I think we just need to set up a working group, for want of a better term, of just a couple of councillors who will gather that information in, and you've already started, obviously. So, I sneaking suspicion that I'm going to know the answer to this. Anybody want to put them in? Thank you, Bob. Anybody else fancy putting that? And David, you two, you happy to pull together this information and obviously feed it back to the rest of the councillors, so as we understand what's going into the response.
I mean, I was going to read out a bit. So me and Roger have prepared a small sheet with some information currently about the parking within the town. So to give you an example, so with the High Street, on Roath Road, there's actually 72 car parking spaces. 2 of those are disabled, as I understand. This is the Roath Road car park. So within the town, currently within the High Street, there is also 25 spaces that obviously, if the traffic order comes down in their view, and obviously they're for North Somerset Council, with a possible 29. So the 29 would be from basically the car lot down towards Gordano School. That incorporates Lemon Street now. Opposite there, car lot. Yes, name that Brampton Way. Yeah. So there are about 4 spaces on Brampton Way that can actually be. So these are 29 spaces that could be marked off as parking areas. As a lot of people know, that the residents currently use that as a parking area to pick up the children from school. I have to perceive the worst with North Somerset and what the possibilities are. With the lake grounds, there are currently just under 600 possible parking spaces available, with an additional 104 that could be created. So to give you an idea, Kilkenny Fields, currently you can hold 100 parking spaces there, but that can extend to
So yeah, just saying that there was an argument going on downstairs, but I think they've gone.
So that can be extended to 200, but there are issues on both sections, so the High Street and the Lake Grounds. So with the Lake Grounds, it's concessions. So to give you an example, the employees that work at the swimming pool, but they may want a concession. You have the people that run the model boats, so they may require a concession. You have people possibly haven't got a phone or an app, so do we have a concession to say over people that are over 65 park down the lake grounds for free? Because the chances are, like myself, I'm 62, I have a mobile phone, and I was about 22 when PCs and computers started coming out. So yeah, the likelihood is anyone possibly after 65 will have a phone, but anyone over 65 might not. So then that would cause problems for North Somerset by collecting parking charges. So again, could there be a concession? You have Keep Fit groups down there as well. You also have the cafe employees, the tennis club. So again, it's another thing to look at. With the High Street, I think North Somerset will have some major problems. To give an example, so if you start charging for parking in the High Street and Roath Road car park, the people may look for alternatives. So to give you an example, Imperial Lounge has 17 spaces, but obviously they're for the customers. But if people tend to park there, they may decide to take action themselves, and the same as the Poacher. Obviously people know that some people tend to park in the Poacher and they shoot across the road. But if that car park gets full up all the time, poacher may decide to take action themselves. There's other things to look at, so Lloyds Bank and HSB, so HSBC Bank, the chains that are out now in front of the car park have been removed, and most people start to park there now on a daily basis. Lloyds obviously are closing this year, so chances are that people use that. Then the other issue you need to look at is Iceland Car Park. Now, Iceland Car Park is owned by Aldi, that's leased by North Somerset Council. There's no covenant on it, as we know, and there's also no covenant on Road Road Car Park. As far as we're aware, we did some research back in 2019 and 2020, and we've also done research this year, and there seems to be no covenant on it. But with Iceland Car Park, they could, even if they didn't charge, and I'm not sure the agreement on that with North Somerset Council over leasing.
Iceland Car Park isn't on the list of car parks to be charged. We lease it, North Somerset lease it, and I have a suspicious feeling there's probably something in that lease to say that we can't charge. Otherwise, why isn't it on the list of places to charge?
So obviously the other option would be that they may decide to have a 2-hour limited stay, which is a possibility. Because I don't know if people know at the moment, if you've actually gone down to Iceland Car Park, it's absolutely rammed all day long now. There's no spaces whatsoever. You know, to me it's ridiculous. So there's a lot of problems. Obviously, you've got Port Zen Medical Group. Again, there's 19 parking spaces there. There's no restrictions, so people might be arrogant and go and park there. Also, on the other side of Aldi Car Park, there's also an additional 19 spaces there that people could use, which is in front of residential houses, or at the back of their houses. You know, I think we counted it up. So to give you an idea, on the High Street, there is 126 current or potential parking spaces, including Road Road and the High Street, but there's actually 551 free spaces. So that's including Home Base, New Look Area Car Park, Aldi.
That doesn't include surrounding streets. That's just free car parks or free car parking spaces that people could be displaced to and could start to use instead.
So of course the next problem would be if people then decide to park up by the residential areas, that becomes a residential parking permit, which will then cost the residents money. So I don't think they'll be happy. So all in all, the pros and cons with the High Street, there's more cons that you know, at the end of the day, to me it's not viable. We did, like I said, we did this research back in 2019, 2020. I reviewed it with the Lake Grounds in 2021, looked at concessions, looked at ANPR, looked at gated systems, because we were concerned obviously when the gates went up on Esplanade Road, and the reason why. Because that would mean that there'd be 3 gated areas within the Lake Grounds that could be turned to ANPR gating systems, so an entry point and an exit point that possibly might come from North Somerset. With it now, I believe that the Lake Grounds could be turned into a one-way system. So literally you come down and go onto Lake Road itself, and it's literally just one way, so you can't go both ways. They possibly might be using ANPR to register your car. Will they allow you to park for 30 minutes or an hour? And obviously you have people that want to drop the kids off to use the skate park, people that might just want to walk their dog. These are other things that we need to look at, and we need to ask North Somerset those questions and see what the replies that we do get. I'm sure they've thought of everything, but we need to be wise as well and think of everything too.
Clearly, from what Bob says, and from what I've heard so far, it's a big issue, this.
Yeah.
I suspect just you and me, Bob, aren't going to agree on everything. And I wonder necessarily, maybe we will, but I wonder whether it might be useful to have three of us at least.
I think it will. I mean, to give you an idea of the revenue that may be collected, North Somerset states it's around 500,000. I reckon it's around 700,000. Which is a lot of money.
That wasn't 500,000 from Portishead, though, was it? That 500,000 wasn't from Portishead, was it?
Yeah.
The 500,000 was for
500,000.
the scheme in the north.
No, it's
It was
500,000.
across, that was
Yeah,
across the towns.
I reviewed this back in 2019.
You know,
There's the amount of money that can be made.
in the figures they gave us for the budget, which is where this comes from, there was £500,000 raised. That was it. That was the limit, £500,000.
In total,
In
but I
West
think the
North
whole.
Somerset.
The north, it's the three towns, isn't it?
I think I'd be.
Those are the figures that are in the budget that was voted through
Again, it
last
depends.
month.
Depends. I mean, we obviously we reviewed parking for the lake grounds. We know even in winter, we're talking around average of 100 cars per hour. Even in the winter.
I'd be surprised the
Summertime.
figures, but those were the
Yeah,
figures.
summertime, you're talking an average of over 600.
Can I make a comment? Sorry.
Yeah,
I've been doing a few observations out of the window recently and home all
Yeah.
day. That there's literally 10 cars in the morning. There's hardly anything going on when the weather's bad in the winter. And they just stop and have a look and drive on. They're not parking up or doing anything. The only ones that park there are going to tennis.
yeah, which is why I think Justin, you were sort of saying about like the first say hour was
Yeah,
free.
should be free. Well, it's actually in the tennis courts now. They've 2-hour slot.
Yeah, but again, I'm not saying I don't trust North Somerset Council, but I think we need to be aware of they may not be happy with an hour. They might say it's the first 20 minutes. So we need to look at that as part of the questions that we put in front of North Somerset Council.
Yeah. We need to understand because they openly said on their thing they've done no analysis at all, didn't they, in terms of the numbers?
Also, they've got, I think, a car counter on Esplanade Road now. I think there's a little box halfway along the seafront where they can count at least with the line across the road. Yeah, no, not without a line across the road. I think it's more sophisticated than that. I think
Things have moved on since the little rubber band across the road, haven't they?
They're
They seem to have some sort of lamppost mounted cameras that they puzz up, or they put them, just stick them in posts in the ground sometimes. I see them all over the place.
You'd need to have that to be able to record time as well, wouldn't you? Because if you went out there at 11 o'clock at night, you just get the boy racers going backwards and forwards 10 times.
And again, that's another question with the camper vans obviously parking there at night, the charge that they might be expecting themselves. So, you know, there's a lot of money that North Somerset can make at the lake grounds.
Can I just ask just a strategic question, really?
Yeah.
Because we've all got our own views, and I suspect we're all likely to submit comments to this. But for me, the key one we should talk about here is the town council line. And so it's a question to Roger with his North Somerset House and years of experience as a councillor, and Wendy as our clerk. What sort of response from the town council is most likely, if any, to hold weight with the town council? Because Bob's got a lot of very detailed information, very fine-grained information, which is absolutely brilliant. I wonder though whether something a little bit more high level would carry more weight, but great.
I mean, on that, to start with, quite simply, you have to start from the premises of whether or not you think that there should be any charging at all. So, you know, there's the high street. We're talking about different zones here. There's the high street. There's Rose Road car park. There's the lake grounds, and they are totally different areas, aren't they? So it would be valid for you to think that that parking charges would be good in one area and not in another. If you thought that, I mean, I'm not going to put words into anybody's mouth here, but you might think they're bad no matter where. So that's the first one, to sort of to judge where you think parking charges, if they were to be introduced, would be best introduced. We've opened up the one for the town and parish councils in case you have other areas you thought actually this is a specific problem that could be fixed by parking charges. So you might want to volunteer some areas for parking charges. I know that sounds counterproductive to what everyone thinks, but you know, there may be in certain areas a valid argument for putting charges in where there aren't currently. So really it's about what you think, and I think a lot of it is got to be guided by what the public are telling you as well. But just because the public are totally against it doesn't mean to say that you couldn't find a good argument to put some parking charges somewhere if that was to alleviate a specific problem. But the consultation, I think you have to take the consultation in the round, yeah? This is a consultation on if we were to introduce parking charges, what they would look like. And I know there's been a lot of talk about biased questions, but that's because that's the premise of it. If we were to introduce them, what would they look like? Yeah, and there are room in there for everybody to say, actually, no, I just don't want them full stop. But that's in the free text areas, yeah. So that's an important part. The consultation equally is on, and I think you'll find questions in that, is on a residence parking permit. So if we were to introduce these, there would be a potential to introduce a residence parking permit where you could purchase a permit which would give you 2 hours free parking, I think is and yeah, it's in the consultation. They're thinking 2 hours. You're being asked whether or not that's a good idea or bad, or whether it should be longer or shorter,
And how much you should pay.
and how much you could pay for that, because essentially you're pre-buying your parking place, aren't
It's
you?
not free parking.
For that. No, it's not
Yeah.
free, but you know, maybe people who, if you were to say, let's introduce it down the lake grounds, residents who wanted to just pop down the lake grounds could buy themselves a permit. They could be free to pop down anytime they wanted and just use that parking entitlement. And I think though they've asked about the charges. I think in other areas charges have been round about 40 quid, because they've done a bit of research on what other areas have done. So round about 40 quid a year for that. So it doesn't sound too bad.
The trouble with the parking permit is the public will want to know where that revenue is going. And the trouble is most of the people in Portishead will say, well, that revenue will go to Western. Now, we all know that the lake grounds needs a lot of money to put that right. So will North Somerset work, if they're going to do a parking permit, will they work something out with North Somerset to provide?
Unsurprisingly,
Yeah.
I asked this question quite some time ago. Yeah, can we have the money to spend in Portishead, please? It's generated in our car parks. Can we have it to spend on stuff in Portishead? The first thing they told me was that actually the car parks cost North Somerset Council money. We have to pay business rates on the car park, which is something I didn't know. I just assumed it's our car park, that's it. And then you assume, well, it's North Somerset, so they collect their own business rates, so they don't really pay it. But no, we don't collect our own business rates, we give them to the government because they collect them. So there's an actual cost to owning it, and then an actual cost to maintaining it. So that's part of the issue, isn't it? That there's a cost being borne by all taxpayers, and they're looking at whether or not that should just be borne by the people who use it rather than all taxpayers. So you can sort of see where that comes from as well. So
But if there's a surplus?
if there's a surplus, the law, I think, is quite clear that you can only spend that on sort of roads and transport schemes. And I said, come on, just give us a surplus, no one will know. And they said, if they spend it on something else, then that opens the council to judicial review. And I think, as we said the other day, judicial review is really expensive, and they would lose it because it's against the law. So it would cost them arm and a leg out of all of our rates, yeah, it cost us all an arm and a leg to go down that route. So if you look at it the other way, if they took parking charges and they spent it on the car park, then they wouldn't have to spend what they're currently spending on those car parks in rates and everything else. That money would then be free within the system to spend on other things. Be that in Weston-super-Mare, or we'd like to hope in
So it
Police
wouldn't be earmarked,
Clevedon,
it would
Nailsea.
be just out
It
of
would-
general budget.
It means that if we saw a saving there might be a surplus there, and that could be reallocated to something. But as soon as you say, we promise that the money generated by that is going to be spent on that, then you break the law, and that's when you get in all sorts of trouble.
Surely the permit scheme is slightly different from that.
Yeah,
I can follow
that's
that
what I was gonna
argument for actually paying to park on tarmac that sort of recognised car park. But if you're asking citizens to pay for a permit, that seems to be slightly different. It's linked to a particular location. But
The money generated by the permit is classified as parking charges.
So it's still,
So it goes in exactly the same way. Yeah, believe me, I've tried every which way to try and try and find a way to extract money out of this if it happens. After the consultation, let's just finish up with after the consultation. Yeah. Once the consultation is finished, everything in there, we've got somebody specifically who's going to go through all those free text fields, and there's going to be thousands of them, so it's going to take a while, and they're going to summarize all the results from the free text fields as well as the rest. So nothing's being ignored on air. We insisted that that was done, yeah. But after that's finished and the report's ready, it's all together, it's been published, everything else, it goes back to the executive for a decision. So this one doesn't go to full council in North Somerset, it only goes to the executive. That's nine people will make the decision as to whether or not to implement it. The reason it doesn't go to full council is because it was in the budget, and full council voted through the full budget. And I mean everyone, every single 50 councillors, 49, one of them's away, 49 councillors there all put their hand up and said that they would agree for that to be done. So they've all sort of pre-agreed to the potential for parking charges.
So the budget is for the cost of establishing parking, or does it?
So the North Somerset's overall budget, which North Somerset has a legal responsibility to balance. So when we did the overall budget, the parking charge income was already in that. So if we don't get the parking charge income from that, it has to come from somewhere else. Yeah, which is efficiency savings, cuts, staff losses. I don't know where it falls, but it falls somewhere. Yeah, but this is down to the usual, isn't it? That every council doesn't have enough money. It's been all over the news, not just here, all around the country. Parking charges here. Councils are having to take desperate measures. And I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that you should be supporting this just because councils have to take desperate measures, because it's perfectly valid to say the action falls somewhere else. Yeah.
NHS has done that already. Yeah, most hospitals around the country pay to park in the car parks.
Oh, the staff in Western General were up in arms, I believe, but they've still done it.
Could I ask? Sorry, could I ask Roger a question?
No, I'm going.
No, not yet. Roger, you was talking about the residence parking permit, and you said it would give, say, people who in the town, say, who might then be able to park 2 hours in the lake grounds for free. Yeah. How does that work the other way round for residents that actually live on the roads that people might be displaced to? Is there a residence parking for residents to park their cars on their road, or what's the idea with that?
So this has been floated as well, that clearly if you're going to displace traffic because of the charges, then the only to make sure that residents can still continue to park outside their own houses would be some form of residence parking zone, which equally would come with another cost.
Yeah.
Now, the officers down at North Somerset, they're quite clear. Parking charges, really easy to put in. Residence parking zones, much more difficult. So they take the easy route, don't they? Because they're under a time limit to get savings into the budget. If you do a residence parking zone, it's going to take more than 12 months. So it's outside the budget cycle for that year. So in answer to the question, they tell me that once the parking charges are in place, if the traffic is displaced, then they would start to look at residence parking zones. However, the downside of that, as you know, is that would then be an additional charge on top of your residence parking permit, because then you'd have your own parking zone. Some people may actually think that a parking zone is a great idea, especially if they live really close to the station, which is gonna run into problems there, isn't it? So there may be some roads that really would rather pay that and be able to park near their houses, but that's quite some way down the line before that one even comes out.
Yeah, so you're going to have the implementation time, the review, the time before they do a review of it, and then the time to actually make any changes, living through hell. All the roads round the actual lake grounds will be a nightmare. They're already full of traffic in the summer. So it's going to be worse.
I can only agree with you that, as I say, these things get raised all the time, mainly from the executives from the northern towns. To be fair, the people on the executive from Weston-super-Mare, they don't really have a problem with it because they already pay the parking charges, and some of their residents are crying out for residence parking zones, and they would happily pay for them as well. So it's a different dynamic looking at it from outside our towns, because some people already pay it, so they wonder why we're whinging. But you know, I think it's really important that we look at whether or not our towns are the same as Weston-super-Mare and should be treated the same as Weston-super-Mare. And
I don't think it should be.
There's a pretty good argument out there from a lot of these towns now that we are not Weston-super-Mare, we are not a holiday destination, and therefore we shouldn't have these charges. And that's quite a valid viewpoint as well.
So I've got videos, if it helps, of in this last summer of people literally having arguments, getting out of their car, having fisticuffs and standoffs because on Lake Road, the bit between the Lido and the cricket club, it is not wide enough for two-way, even if it's not wide enough for one-way. If something large goes along, if you've got cars parked all the way, and they literally were fighting in the street, people, and arguing. And you know that where then can the residents park? They can't. They've all got short, steep drives, so it's not feasible.
And these are all very valid points that we need to get into the consultation.
We do. We need to get them all in. So Justine, just to give you an update, we've aligned a couple of councillors here who are going to pull together the response from a council point of view.
Yeah.
So Bob, Councillor Cartwright.
Are you going to get a third?
We're going to get a third, yeah. So we've got two here now, and item 1 on their hit list is to find a third councillor for part of that group.
So I didn't hear who the other one was. Bob and
David Gunnell.
All right. Hi. Yeah. Okay.
And so item 1 on the agenda is to find the third member of the team.
Yeah.
Okay. And then to start pulling all that information together. Yeah. The information you've got, Justine, is absolutely great. I know you've already provided some information.
Yeah. Got more.
Please feed it all in.
Yeah, send it to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
We will try and include everything in there. I don't think we're gonna.
If it's something like the mental health strategy review,
I
the character count limitations.
It's going to be enormous.
Yeah.
So where you want, you've got 20 characters.
Yeah.
Is it possible to have a copy of what so I've seen what individuals can submit. I've got a copy of those questions. Is it possible to have this?
Yeah, we've got it on here. It's this one.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
So that after you.
All right. Thank you. In the interest of time, because I know some of us have got some distance yet to travel this evening, waste consultation. Similar piece, we need, this is a consultation around the non-recyclable black bin collection with the idea of moving it to 3 weeks to save some money. Again, we need to be encouraging all the residents to feedback, and also as a town council we should be feeding back our view. I think we will create a similar working group. We will create. Sorry,
I'm going to drop off now. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Roger,
Thanks, Justine.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
have you got any idea of how much North Somerset inquiries over getting larger bins from the people?
None yet, because we haven't gone to 3 weekly bin
No,
collections.
but obviously people might be inquiring.
I do think that it's likely to be less contentious, but let's be honest, I was wrong on which one was going to get the most, so I might be wrong on that.
My view would be if it moves to 3 weeks, as long as it's more consistent than we have at the moment, because we do have trouble. We do have trouble with, although it's supposed to be every 2 weeks, it doesn't.
Some areas are excluded from this. So there are some flats where they will still stay on weekly collections because of the issues of storing that amount of rubbish in the space that they've got. There's some places in built up areas that will be excluded from this as well. But on the whole, I think it was on here, wasn't it? 45% of what's collected in the black bin is recyclable.
Yep.
We spend 5 million disposing of that. If we were to save 45% of that, 2-point-something million, that roughly equates to the total budget that we have for filling potholes in North Somerset. So you look at that and you say the saving there could double the number of potholes that we filled. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Most people who recycle that haven't got massive families don't fill that bin up every 2 weeks anyway. So some people stopped me in the street and said I could go 4 weeks in a month. Yeah. Other people have said I fill it right to the top all the time. So if you need a bigger bin, you will get a bigger bin. But what they'll do is they'll come and they'll check your rubbish, and they'll give you advice as to what you should be recycling if you're filling it full of recycling. Yeah. And if you're not filling it full of recycling, they'll give you a bigger bin. There will be a process in place to do that to make sure that people aren't disadvantaged. But yeah, and there's, as I said, there's been 8,000, I think, so far on that one. So we got about a weekend now.
Yeah.
A week and a half, maybe. Yeah, I think that's pretty good going so far.
Every other week.
2 weeks, yeah.
That's right. I live in Somerset, it's different anyway.
We've spoken as well about bigger recycling bins, because obviously, if everyone's recycling more, you need a bigger recycling bin, and soft plastics are going onto the recycling collections this year as well. So that will increase what you can recycle. But some areas are really, really, really bad at recycling, and the fear is that those areas won't get any better, and that they will be really horrible areas to live in if there's rubbish everywhere. Yeah, or they will take it and flight it elsewhere. So those are the concerns that go with it. It's like, yes, it makes sense if everyone recycles, but if they don't, it could be a bit onerous.
Okay. Anybody on the committee here want to stand in that working group? I know you two, right?
No, it's fine now.
All right. Well, I'll take an action on that one. Then we'll speak with some councillors and see if we can get a couple of details. Okay. Any final point on consultation before we move on? No. Okay. Agenda item 17. It's listed on here as Bristol Road Football Club. I know thanks from a member of the public regarding the recent works completed. for those of you who don't know, there's a fence behind Bristol Road, between Bristol Road and the football club that basically almost disintegrated. That's been replaced. Looks very nice. And so the resident that was raising that as a concern has sent them thanks in. I just want to add a couple of other points because we have received some other thanks as well around grants. Great Western Air Ambulance. We received a letter of thanks from them for the grant that we recently gave them. They just want to say what a huge support on grant each year is to them, and we really appreciate it. I know
We've got the open.
we've got the opening to go up and
Yeah,
visit them. I think Jenny, you said you would be quite interested to go.
I'm reserved.
Oh, you're reserved. Oh, reserved as well. Okay.
That's because I'm taking a cake. Yeah.
And then also for those who took part in the Penny Festival, obviously there was some money raised on the gate. Part of that money went to Portishead Parent from my Tina James. She sent a thanks in just to say, really appreciate the support from that. And she also explained we can share the thanks numbers out to you so you know what she spent it on. And the final one, which I think is a really good message, Portishead Chess-Con, which so they've now launched Coffee Chess, and Coffee Chess is kicking off on the 6th of April in Aqua, 9:30 in the morning till 11. Aqua have set aside a couple of tables. You phone up, you book in advance, you go along, and they set the chess set up. You have a cup of coffee. It's quick games of chess. It's not like it's not 4 hours of chess.
4 hours per moon.
Yeah, it's rapid game of chess, but it's really good. That chess club have done some marvelous things with the grants that we gave them, and yeah. So there's a few of us that have been invited along.
I'm waiting for their spin-off Tiddlywinks to be frank. That's my kind of level.
So if there, I know Nikki and myself have been invited, but there's 2 other places. So there's another officer and another councillor. So if anybody would like to come along, they are. 6th of April. 6th of April, yeah.
I'm going to suggest vodka dominoes as an alternative.
Right, just so I give you that, let me know if you want to be included in that. That brings us to the end. Next meeting, Thursday, the 25th of April, 7:30, same time, same place. I close this meeting. Thank you, everybody. Sorry we've overrun by 12 minutes. But the parking consultation was always going to be over.
Yeah, everyone's got